Good evening, witches. How are you? It is Monday, January 23rd, and we're going to be talking about Aquarius energy and how it's going to affect your 2023, among other things. So we're going to get started in just 1 second. Here's Jamie.
Here I am.
We are coming to you live from Nokomis, Florida.
Live from my basement.
Live from Jamie's
the
basement.
recording studio. It's
in
weird.
Nokomis, Florida.
I don't have it's a basement, but it's not a basement. So weird.
So,
Okay, that's for you, ma'am.
hello, Selena. How are
hey.
you? Glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, the last 2 times I've started live, it's trying to make me do a new event. So we're like just barely on time again tonight. I don't know what's going on with it. We might have to start a couple minutes early next time.
Glad you're here. Hello, Mitzi.
Mitzi, hi. Hello, world.
Mitzi. JM, nice to have you. I was just saying it is Monday, January 23rd, and we're going to be talking about new moon in Aquarius, among other things. We are going to be with you here for the next hour or so.
Yeah.
And we have some interesting things to talk about for sure. So, hey, Tracy. None of your business. That's Nunya. Can I call it none of your business? May I call you Nunya? Would that be okay?
Nunya.
Tabitha, hi. Kimmy, is that Kimmy? Oh, I can't see. I don't want to scoot up because I'll touch the cart and things will shake. So Kimmy, Billy, hi Billy. So good to have all of you with us here tonight.
Yes. Hope everybody's Monday went well. Mine was a little chaotic, but I'm doing okay. I'm much better now. Like early in the morning, it wasn't great, but it's good. We did get rain, so my plants are happy.
Steven, welcome. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Monday. I'm not sure how I feel about work anymore. I just really am ready to be done with work. Well, I want to do the kind of stuff that I want to do, but I'm going to really need some bucks to do that. So.
Okay. Well, we are going to talk about the energy of the season.
I'm going to be manifesting some fat cash, from somewhere.
Not skinny cash.
Not skinny cash, but fat cash. So funny thing in that regard, I've had 2 emails this week from lawyers who said, hi, Kat Williams. I want to talk to you about, one was Kyle Williams who died sometime. And then today was a Patrick Williams who left a bunch of money and they want to talk to me about it. I'm like, whatever. These things are scams, right? So I just deleted the emails, but I don't know. It makes me curious. Do you guys ever get those where you're like, I know this is a scam, but I'm really curious about it. I'd like to investigate it, but then you're like, don't get drawn in. Don't be silly.
I mean, you can investigate it at least, like the email address that it comes from or something, but
do a Google search and vet them. Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea, Mitzi. I love that. And the rain and the thunder last night was powerful.
Yes. It is the new moon time. And I know I've said before, like new moon for me, I can't sleep the night before. So all through the weekend, I was like up till 3 a.m. and that's not me at all. I'm an early bedtime and an early riser, but I was up till 3 a.m. on Friday or Saturday. And then even today, last night I went to bed late and got up super early, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I want sleep, but new moon does not allow me to sleep. The energy just keeps me up. I don't know why. So the tiredness.
So thank you, I'm Tracy. Just going to say hi to those who I didn't say hi and acknowledge already here. JM, Tracy, Tabitha,
Kimmy.
I said Kimmy.
Oh, okay.
I said Kimmy. Let's see. And I think that's it.
Okay.
So I think hopefully I have acknowledged everyone and thank you all
everybody.
for being
Hi,
here. If
guys.
I have not, please call me out on it. I'm okay with that. So.
And then for anyone who's watching this afterwards, hi, you guys. We hope your day was good.
Yeah, hey, we're so glad that you decided to pop in and see
Yes.
what's up with us.
Yeah. All right. So I do have my notes that I've printed out, and Kat has some stuff that she has in her journal book. So I guess the first thing that I want to address is it's probably odd that new moon was on Saturday, and we're doing the what new moon in Aquarius means for you a couple days later. And so first little announcement is that you can use this energy up till, I would say, like first quarter, which is this coming Thursday. So the first quarter moon is the true next transition in the 8 cycles of the moon. So don't be like distraught if you don't get to something during the actual precipice of the event of new moon. You can always tap into it when you're ready. Remember, I always say, like, the best time to do a spell or a ritual or any kind of work is when you actually have the energy for it. Don't force yourself into it has to be done at the hour of the new moon or at the hour of the full moon or whatever. Just do it when you have the energy for it, because the energy is more important than sticking to a time structure or whatever.
I think that's so important for new witches to understand.
Nobody says that in any books.
I think it's so important for new witches to understand that you are not you're not on anybody's timetable but your own.
Yeah.
So don't feel the pressure to do things on a certain date at a certain time, because that's when the stars are aligned perfectly.
Yeah.
So the stars
And the
are
energy is
aligned
always still there. Yeah. It's aligned when you need it to be. So you're good there. All right. So the next thing, and I know we mentioned this last week as well, but all the retrogrades are over. All of them are done. And we've got like several months with no retrogrades. So that's going to add to this energy of whatever it is that you're looking at moving forward with, whatever changes you're trying to make. The energy right now is like, we're not going to make you pause and think about it while you're halfway through it. We're just going to let you get all the way to, March, April, May before you have any kind of reflection time. So this is all about starting the new projects. It's about actual like life changes, the chapter in your life, changing that whole, like just flipping to the next side, going on to something else. And what you're saying with wanting, to get out of the job that you're in, I mean, that totally fits with right now, because this is all about the big changes coming up. So in December, we had Jupiter move into Aries, which, if you guys don't know, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth and luck, among other things, but that's the big words. And it went into Aries. It started its brand new 12-year cycle. It's in Aries, the beginning of the zodiac. That's a planet of action.
Really, that feels pretty major in my life anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Forward moving energy.
But I'm contemplating some huge things right now. Like, I think if you guys were here last week, you heard me talk about Solitary Witch Society. It's a domain name, and it's an idea that came to me probably a year ago, a community where witches can connect and where we can get like witches from all over the country and even the world connected together and start forming groups that are local. That are local.
You won't need meetup necessarily to find this stuff.
This has been a dream of mine. And I haven't, for whatever reason, I put it on the back burner. And so I've actually, like, this week I made some progress. I actually wrote some things like, what is this about? Like a little brief mission. And then I looked at a template on Wix and I'm like, that'll work.
And she asked me to make a logo for her.
And I asked Jamie to make a logo. Yeah. So I'm starting, and especially I got a lot of encouragement last week. It's like, yes, please do that, because we need this.
Thank you, guys, for that.
Thank you. Which is the whole witch community. We're, it's pretty fractured because we're all over the place.
And it's scary coming out to people. You don't know what kind of witch they'll be like how they practice. Will your guys' practices mesh? If you don't believe the same things, do you walk away from each other? How do you practice when you want to do different things? It's a whole ordeal.
It's a big step. And you always have or I do anyway, I have these big goals, like everybody come together. Let's, love each other and be kind. But you're always going to have some antagonizers in there. Going to be like, but I sacrifice dead chickens, and I don't want to. And I don't want to ban people, but it's like there has to be some rules, right?
There will have to be structure,
because we don't do that and we don't believe in that. So
I don't want to encourage it.
Well, we don't want to promote it, encourage it, talk about it. We're like, sorry, this probably isn't the place for you. So anyway, thank you. I love thank you again for encouraging me again this week. Yes, I'm gonna do it. And you guys are going to all be my guinea pigs.
Yeah. See, more people to sign up and try stuff out before we take it to the world. Yes.
Exactly.
You guys are a very important group. Super duper important. You're helping form these things.
Test subjects. Yes.
When you were talking about it, it reminded me of, like, I feel like in your head I was getting oh shit, what was the big hippie thing? What was that? Woodstock.
Oh, Woodstock.
Witchstock. She wants to do Witchstocks where you would just, I know, I could see that
don't
in your head.
Don't. Oh my God.
I could see it.
Okay.
Love to have that
because
together.
I've thought about, like, how do we meet and where do we go? And, like,
it's
just
have
have
these
these, like,
safe and comfortable.
yeah,
and just,
exactly. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All
That's
right.
the name. That's going to be the name of our get-togethers is Witchstock. Yeah.
Witchstocks.
Oh my God. Trademark that.
So
yes. I love that. And that's why we're here working together. Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about Jupiter in the Aries sign and it's starting a brand new 12-year cycle. So that's another reason why this year is going to be so big and powerful. The next one is being our first new moon. I really want to mention that, like, this would have normally been a New Year's for other people because it's the first new year. It's the first new moon within the year, but because it's Gregorian and we have all these other, like, things that came in the last 1500 years to change our calendar, celebrate that and let it mean whatever you want it to mean for you. Like, I still think of the first new moon as being kind of like my actual New Year's, and it just depends on the energy around actual New Year's. Maybe there's a new moon in Capricorn. I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't have to be the new moon in Aquarius, but the new moon of the new year for me always feels like the double start. You know, it's almost like I know I can slack off a bit until that new moon. It's like, all right, it's time to get serious. You really need to put some things into work. And that's true. In the last week, just before the new moon, we did a lot of stuff. We started to feel that forward movement of, like, we need to commit to plans. We need to make sure that we're getting things done. What do we want to achieve this year? Really looking over it. But for the first week of January, I didn't do anything. I kind of still tried to be on vacation, I think, like commit to nothing, do nothing, relax after the holidays. So we're going right into, like, a new beginning phase again with this very first new moon of the year. This was still on the Jupiter thing, but the energy that this is giving us has luck in it. I want you guys to remember that if you think that you're lucky, or if you think that there'll be something that's waiting for you or on your side, I know people who are, like, pessimistic and they're like, nothing ever goes my way. I was like, then it never will. I mean, you say that and the universe is going to deliver it. So this is a really good time if you want to change your mindset to feeling like, when I go to the grocery store, I always have a spot in the front, if that's something that you want. But, like, simple stuff like that where it makes you feel like you're arriving at the right time to the places that you go to. Like, say you want to go shopping, you're like, I'm looking for this one thing and I know I'm going to find it. Like, it's there waiting for me. And if you project that into the future event, the luck that's built in the energy right now within this year is, like, it's going to help you get those things. So what that's meant to do, if we start feeling really lucky and, like, things are going well and they're on our sides and everything's happening in synchronicities and, coincidences, we start trying to do bigger and bigger thoughts of bringing stuff to ourselves. So Kat says, she was like, I want fat money, right? so she's starting to think about, in what ways could this come about? Ooh, there could be this, like, long lost account and I'm the last beneficiary. Or she's just thinking of all the different ways that this fat cash could come to her. And the more opportunities she puts in the universe for things to happen, that's just 10 more ways the universe has to deliver it to her and give her opportunities to do the things she wants to do and grow with that. Because she's not using cash as, like, a selfish thing. She's using it to grow the community, which is so in line with Aquarius season, right? It is that community-minded, like, break free from traditions and do something else. That's why you're not liking your job right now. I'm so sorry.
I like my job.
You don't like working?
Yeah, I'm kind of over the,
9 to 5.
I'm like a 9 to 5, right? So I got to be at my desk. I work from home. But, I got to turn my computer on and be present. And I can turn my computer on and not be present. Ken, I'm sorry if you're here. If you happen to pop in, you didn't hear this. I'm present, but I'm sort of like, I don't know. Yeah.
She's looking for satisfaction elsewhere. I think that's what it truly is. making a change in a different direction.
Well, I think it's leading me up to like this big change in my life where I'm no longer going to work for the company I've worked for almost 30 years, and I'm going to be doing something completely different. So there's steps, that's a process that happens when you're going to make a big change like that. Anytime you're going to make a big change in your life, usually it doesn't happen instantaneous where you're like, today everything changes and tomorrow I'm living in a travel trailer and writing a travel blog and going around the country. That could happen. But usually there's a lead up to that, to those kind of like really big changes in our lives.
Yeah.
A lot of things have to happen. I think about you with working for David.
Yeah.
And how unhappy you were and dissatisfied.
David, if you see this,
sorry, David.
You.
It wasn't you. It was the job.
You.
But she was in a job.
I wanted to do something else.
She really wanted to do something else. And so there was like this dissatisfaction. And I think probably a lot of you can maybe relate to this at some point in your life where you're like, gosh, I just know this isn't where I'm supposed to be, or I have this bigger idea of where this big goal. But it takes time to bring that to fruition. So,
good. Well, she's segueing perfectly into the things that I want you to write down. If you're taking notes, I want you to write down these two things because it's really important to remember as you're going through change or as you're trying to build up for change. The first thing is that change gets you outside of your comfort zone because change is going to be something you haven't done before. So it shouldn't feel super comfortable. It might feel scary. So understand that when things start to get uncomfortable, you're doing it right. You're starting to change in a way that is not who you used to be. Because this is a time for like shedding old identities, letting them burn and die, and then creating a new one for yourself. But that uncomfortableness, recognize when you feel that and then tell yourself, it's okay. Like this isn't killing me. It's just changing me. And I want the change. I'm willing to go through it. It's like the whole thing where the guy sees the butterfly trying to come out and it's struggling and he tries to help him and it dies. And it's like, without the struggle, we can't truly like spread our wings and fly. I know I'm messing that whole thing up, but there's a story like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know that story?
Yeah.
It's something like that. The struggle is important because it's what is inside of you that keeps you going to where when you come out of it on the other side, you have that satisfaction. Like, you've done it. You're proud of yourself. You've watched yourself change and grow. So the uncomfortableness means you're doing it right. And then the second thing is you really can't change unless you reflect and you have a good reason on why you're doing it or like what's driving you. The reflection part of change is so very important so that you're doing the change that gets you the thing that you truly want. So really reflecting over, what is it that I want to become? Who is it that I want to become? What is it about myself that I want to change? Is it internal? Is it external? Something like physical, being fit, having more flexibility, waking up at a different time. Really uncover these goals that you want for yourself. And then the next step is so awesome because it takes outward reflection on other people's lives, which who doesn't love to watch other people, living their lives and be like, could I do that? I don't know. What did they do? But find your thing, whatever the changes that you want to be. I'm going to use fitness because it's just easy and everybody always has fitness goals. I've had a fitness goal always. I don't think I ever reach it, but I always have one.
You're always striving.
Always striving. So if you're looking at fitness and you're like, okay, I eventually want to run a marathon. That was something 10 years ago I was in line for. I wanted to run a marathon. I didn't know I'd be like thrown from a truck 2 years later, but whatever. So with wanting to run a marathon, the first thing that I had to look at is who runs marathon? What's their life like? What do they do? Like what's their actions? What's their thought process? It's not even about how they train because, for physical stuff, everybody can train differently for your body type, but their mentality, you're going to catch some of the same attitude that they have about, I get up and do this because I want it, because I have the drive. Like I look forward to my first 5-mile run, or I look forward to my first 10K or whatever it's going to be. But you start looking at the people who are successful at the thing that you want to do, or at least in the area that you want to do it in. And then you follow some of their behaviors or habits. You try them on. It doesn't mean you have to keep them, but looking at somebody who already has the lifestyle or the behavior or the thing that you want, and you can mimic them. So before it becomes your true identity, you can mimic somebody else and try it on and see how you like it, see how you do with it. And then it's a constant, make a change, reflect on it, make a change, reflect on it. just to see if it's leading you to the thing that you really want. So uncomfortableness means you're doing it right. Looking at somebody else's experience and seeing what you can take from that to make it your own so that you can have those same changes. And then there was a third one, reflection. Always be reflecting. We used to say always be charging ABC when we traveled a lot. Always be something. Always be reflecting on your experiences so you know that you're headed in the right direction for you. And I had a little motto, but it doesn't sound like a motto now that I'm reading it back to myself. It's time to turn your visions into a reality. So whatever your dream is, I think of them more as visions. Like if you can picture yourself in a future life situation, that's a vision. It's very powerful. Feed that vision if you want it. And the visions can be turned into realities with this year's energy. Like that's part of this.
Oh my gosh, you guys are not going to believe this. I
What's
was
the
journaling.
thing?
I was journaling this afternoon because I'm trying to be really on top of my journaling this year. Like I'm just determined that I'm going to keep it up, right? Because sometimes it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Life gets away from you. Like my whole December just
Life
went
gets in the
crazy.
way.
Like my whole December went crazy. But here's something that I have to add. So I was writing, and this is what I wrote. You never know when magic will happen, so be open to all possibilities. And I was like, oh, I really like that as a motto for myself, or as like just an affirmation. Like
A good affirmation, yeah.
you never know when magic will happen, so be open to all possibilities. Like, ooh, I think I like that.
That's very nice. That's a good sign off.
Yeah, I really
it.
like that. And it fits with what you were saying, what
Yeah.
you were just saying.
Yep, the reflection. And as you reflect on the things, then you know what you need to make changes into. It's a beautiful thing. And don't be afraid to research stuff online, but find reputable places. Like, I wouldn't say magazine articles and newspaper articles are necessarily the most reputable, but if you go to psychology sites, they're really giving you like, here is how change happens. And they know that because they've done studies. There's been hundreds of thousands of people in them, and like, how did change affect people? What was the best way to try to implement change? How do you keep going when you lose your motivation? Because motivation is fleeting. If you think you're going to do a change just based on motivation, probably not going to happen. You have to have something underneath of that motivation, like a true will, a determination, like not just motivation. Motivation's energy. It's like I get up in the morning. Am I motivated to do some stuff? No, but I know I got to do it. Like motivation goes out the window. So having the determination of, you're making these everyday small steps because they're going to get you to something that is much more rewarding. All right. So I know in the last couple of meetups, we did talk about the year 7. And if you guys look into numerology at all, I don't see it on the internet as much. I only have a couple books on it because they are all I've ever needed. But the number 7 is a reflection number. It's also the spiritual number. So 7 looks back over the first 6 letters of creation. And it is, it's everywhere within the Bible as far as like the world was built in 6 days and then you rest on the 7th. And the 7th day was called the Sabbath day, which holy days, feast days, all this stuff that goes in with the number 7. Take that as you may. If that means something to you, or if you're like dismiss it doesn't mean anything, know that the number 7 is meant to stand for the spiritually advanced, somebody who, or the energy around your spiritual advancement. So this year specifically is for people to attain new levels of spirituality in whatever direction that they're reaching for. This is how the Aquarius season, meaning you want change for your community, you want change for yourself or your peoples. If you do it spiritually, it 100% aligns with this year's purpose, like this year's number being that spiritual number. So take that into account as you look at the changes that you want to make. Add a layer of spirituality or some kind of higher purpose for yourself on why you're doing these changes. I was going to say don't make them all about yourself, but that doesn't sound quite right. Yes, they should be about yourself, but they shouldn't be selfish.
Selfless.
Is there a better way to describe that? I mean, it's not all about just helping other people because you do need to grow yourself. But the 7 years, like if you help somebody, then you set yourself up to be helped by others. If you give freely, you'll get freely. I guess that all sounds so hokey, but That's the way the energy works with it is, if you go out expecting that nobody's going to help you and you have to struggle and do it on your own, then you will. But if you go out saying, I'm going to help other people, and in turn, I know that other people will help me because I'm going to be looking for it. I'm going to be waiting for that person to show up and, help me through something or whatever.
Well, and I feel like you can test this in a very simple way. So you go out and you go shopping and you're very friendly with everyone and you say, hi, I love your dress, or your hair is so cute, or you give compliments to people and you're smiling and you're friendly. And what do you think happens when you do that? Next thing you know, people are doing that back to you. So I think you can test this theory that when you put it out there, it comes back to you with a simple thing as smiling and being friendly and trying to be helpful and just being
That's
nice.
better energy.
That energy returns to you.
Yeah. What I wrote down for the 7-year, the 7 reminds me of the snake, and I don't know why, because really the 8-year would be like the serpent as an infinity sign. But for whatever reason, 7, because it's a pivotal point in the number system where 9 is completion. At 7, we reach our higher spiritual selves. At 8, we become a master of our own minds. And then at 9, we can do anything we want. 9's the completion number. So you just can wander around and have like 500 types of jobs and never really settle on anything because you're here to experience everything. But at 7, we're pivoting. We are now looking towards, all right, I've lived the numbers 1 through 6. And at the number 7, this is really about knowing my spiritual self in a physical body. So when you want to do change on that, I always think of it like the snake shedding its skin. In order to grow, we have to let something else die and we have to get rid of it. And sometimes that means, snakes, when they shed, they actually find things to lean up against and wrap themselves on and kind of curl so that they can wiggle that old skin off. It's how I always find my snake skins in my yard.
Rocks, right? They rub up against.
They get stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then they change their skin.
And then they wiggle out of that skin and move on to something else.
They shimmy right out of that place, leaving the old self behind and going into the new. Well, the snake also represents the old feminine. So throughout history, when they wanted to talk about like the pagan religions, it was often talked about as the snake or a serpent, because that was like the sign for evil for whatever reason.
Because they thought women were evil. That's why we were like snakes that were like, ooh, with our voodoo with men and
with
stuff.
our voodoo vaginas. That's
exactly.
What it was.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, men really thought
that's getting off on another topic.
Anyway, I didn't mean
it's very interesting. St. Patty's Day will be coming up too, so look into that. Understand what it meant to drive the snakes out of Ireland. Anyway, so the number 7 is shedding your skin, leaving it behind, letting it die, being okay with that. It's uncomfortable to let things go. And when you experience your new self, that's also uncomfortable because it's not a habit yet. Sometimes it takes more effort. And I thought about this
in your new skin.
Yeah, new skin.
You're wearing a brand new thing. Right? You're like, ooh, this feels different.
Why did that just remind me of video games? And like Cameron, my son, I don't know what video game it was years ago, and he's like, can I get a new skin? And it was the outfits in the game. And I was like, they call it skins. I was like, that's interesting. So I just pictured you in like a costume.
Well, literally, like there's skins for a lot of things. Like skins are covers for like the front of something. So you can, it was used in another, it might have been video games or something with electronic.
If you can make an analogy for the thing that you're looking for and understand that it can be just that simple, it's the mind that you're overcoming. You have to overcome your old habits. Your biggest challenge is yourself. It's not the universe. It's not people helping you or not helping you. It's you helping you or not helping you. And that's sometimes
it's you getting out of your own way.
It can be the most exhausting thing, is to realize how much you actually stop yourself from going out and being, whatever it is, super happy, super kind, super fit, super whatever. We get in our own ways. And when we can realize that and we're like, reflect, I don't want to do that anymore. What are the new words I need to say? What are the new actions I need to take? Maybe they don't become beliefs right away. Like I used to truly believe I was an introvert until I started testing that theory out. And then I had my therapist tell me that I liked danger and excitement. I was like, no, I don't. I'm like a homebody. She's like, you volunteered to go to Iraq and Afghanistan. I was like, I see your point. All right, maybe. She's like, you joined the Navy at 18, 5 days after high school. That's a big thing for an 18-year-old to do. I was like, it seemed normal. She's like, yeah, no, you have a desire for that. I was like, oh my gosh, I think she's right. I have to, like, I move every couple of years. I can't ever stay the same. And I realized I'm not an introvert. I'm just very picky about who I talk to. So I started to not be so judgy on who I talk to. I started to spread my, laughter and kindness to everybody. I was like, oh, why am I quiet at the grocery store? Why do I not say hi to random strangers? I don't know. Did it feel awkward or something? Like, did I expect that they would expect something from me? I have no idea, but I had to get out of my own head and get out of that, like, to leave that all behind on, like, if you smile and say nice things to somebody, they're going to believe you want to date them or something. Like, whatever things were going on in my head. Yeah. Mom's awkward winking. Whatever was going on there, I had to change that.
What did we call last week?
You wince.
My wince.
She doesn't wink, she wince. It just looks like she's hurting when she tries to wink.
Stop it.
I love you, though.
I just did that.
Now you're twitching. It's not quite a wink yet. You gotta work on it.
I gotta work on that.
You gotta work on your wink just a little more. Okay. I think I went through most of what I had. Besides knowing, you need to know it. This is a time of big luck for big changes. That Jupiter in Aries is pushing you along to go out there and conquer and change whatever it is you want to. The no retrograde thing is like so perfect for trying out new stuff and not being stopped in the middle of progress. I have to-dos. I didn't know if you had any more.
No, well, you can go ahead with your to-dos because I'll share. I have a completely different thing to share.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I have something else to share that I think you guys will really be interested with, and I would love to lead to listen to this particular person.
Podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go ahead and do your to-dos, and then I'll try to talk about my thing. I took some really quick notes. It's going to be incomplete, but I think you guys will get it because you're super smart. So.
Yes. Okay. My biggest to do for this Aquarius season, for this Aquarius new moon, is to start really understanding your relationships with others, with yourself, whatever that it looks like, whatever you might want to work on. But this is the relationship kind of season, the relationship reboot, which relationships can benefit you as you change and grow, especially when people can be really honest and tell you what they observe from you so that you can get an honest opinion, an outside opinion about how you are, what you do, what people think you want, and does that line up with what you are actually trying to get? So in your app store on your phones, I don't know if this is on computers, so I only know of it on the phone. You already know it. Although you might not have it on your phone anymore because it's been years.
What?
The Love Nudge app. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's called the Love Nudge. The maker is the Love Languages people. So actually, I had it pulled up so that I could show you guys. I don't know.
It's love languages. So, each of us has our own love language. Like some of us like gifts or touch or compliments.
Well, you might not even know what your love language is.
What's your love language?
And this it doesn't have to deal with romantic love either. I'm going to explain to you in just a second, but this is what the little sign looks like for the app. And then, it's a whole little thing. It's very hard to see a phone on live, but the Love Nudge app, I'm going to say like 5 more times.
Love Nudge app.
It's like love and nudge. So with this app, the most beneficial tool in here, if you don't plan to use it with a partner, if you're a single person, that's totally fine. But there is it's probably like 80 questions. But I want you to do the little questionnaire because it's the first thing you got to do once you get the app. It's all free also. This is a free app. It's going to ask you questions about yourself, and you're going to understand how you give love or kindness or how you treat other people when you care about them. But then it's also going to tell you what you expect back from people. All right, here's a story on how this is really relevant. My sister and I are like total opposites, and yet we're very similar. So it's really weird because on some things we are 100% opposites. How we experience loving each other. All right, and this is sisterly love, obviously. Her love language is to do acts of service for people. So that is not how I perceive love. So when she comes over and wants to do a bunch of stuff for me, I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's helpful, but it doesn't have the meaning for me like it does when she does it. Like she's putting a lot into it for her because that's her love language. That's what she does to give. For me, mine's like physical touch and words of affirmation, or both of ours, thank God, both of ours, like there's 5. The 5th one is like presents and gifts. So we're not big on like big gifts and big show of like, oh, look, I spent this much money on you. Isn't it great? It means I love you. That's not big in our family anywhere. Nobody has that one as their love language. But I've had a friend who has that as her love language. So in all other ways in our friendship, she was all over the place. Like it was confusing. But then she would buy me things and I'm like, why are you buying me gifts? I don't get that.
Is
like,
this R?
This is R.
Okay. We're not going to say names. We're just going to use initials. So R. So I know who she's talking about.
Yeah. It's just, we're not friends anymore because things just didn't work out. I had to break up with her.
Fell apart.
Yeah. And the
people change.
The problem, yeah. And one of the problems is that our languages are so off from each other that without having a much longer, deeper friendship, there was nothing to build on in the way that we would try to help each other. Like I'm an acts of service person too for other people. And I would go over and help her all the time. And I would never get help from her. She complicated my life more than anything else. But then she'd buy me gifts. And I'm like, that really doesn't make up for it. Like this necklace does not help put my house back together. Or like, so because those things were so different, I was able to understand why we didn't fit. And there's no blame after that. You're like, okay, well, these things just don't match and it's nobody's fault. So if you're in a relationship and you're just there because it's been 5 years and you don't want to give up on it, but you know that it doesn't really feel like it's the relationship that it could be, using that app can really help you guys understand each other. And then it has also like super cool functions. Like you've got a love tank where if you get like, I don't know, if your thing is physical touch or kisses or something, it's like you got 10 kisses today, so your love tank is full. Or if you match with if you put your partner on it with you, you guys can see each other's stuff, and it's like you can request. Like we haven't been out on a date in a while, or I can't remember because it's been years now since I did it, but it was stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
it was just
and
really
I think,
cool.
And while Jamie's relating it to like
a relationship,
a romantic relationship, an intimate relationship, you can also do this with friends and even family. So I'm going to share a situation where last week, my daughter, her sister, whose love language is doing
acts of service.
Mm-hmm. Her and boyfriend came to my house and they were doing some stuff there, and they ended up, so I need my faucet replaced in my kitchen, right? Because the sprayer's not working. So after they left my house, unbeknownst to me, they go to Lowe's and they're like FaceTiming me from Lowe's, like, which faucet do you want, Mom? Like, here's all these faucets. I'm like, I was kind of freaked out by it because, well, first of all, I was uncomfortable with somebody paying for it. That's one of my own shadow things that I have to deal with. Like, what does that mean when someone pays for something? Then what do I owe them? Because that's been a thing in my past where somebody does something for you and now you owe them, right? So that's my own deal. But anyway, so when I so I was like, I put them off, right? Because I'm like, well, I don't know. I need to research it. So I did my best to like diffuse it and say, not right this minute, basically what it was, because I needed time to process all this. I was so shocked that they went straight to Lowe's to look at faucets. And it seemed like they were ready to like buy a faucet and bring it home to me. And they're like $200. I was like, oh my gosh, it's too much, right? So anyway, we go to the gym every morning. I'm telling Jamie about it the next morning. And she's like, that's her love language, Joe, my other daughter, that's her love language. Is acts of service. Like she doesn't get to do things like this. So when she is able to do things like this, it makes her feel really good. So even though that was hard for me to accept, what I did once she pointed out to me that that's what was happening, because I did not recognize it. Honest, yeah. I didn't, I was like in my own world, like, oh my God, shit, this is too much. I can't accept this. It's over the top.
Yeah.
So the next day I text her and I was just like, that was so kind of you guys. I wanted to acknowledge what she did, to give her feedback, because that's how she perceived love or gave love, was to do something like that. And I was like, thank you guys so much. that was so nice. And like, anyway, so I acknowledge
even though they didn't do anything. She didn't let them do anything.
Yeah, even though they did, it was the fact that they went there and were looking at
Ready.
faucets, and they were ready to buy. They were ready to buy something. If I could have said, yeah, I'll take that
Install it.
one, you know,
Yeah.
number B52 or whatever it was.
B52.
Well, that's a group, but
I
you know what I'm
know.
saying. But you know, it was acknowledging it. So the love language, I feel like this app is really helpful for
all
knowing
relationships.
for all relationships
Yeah.
and knowing yourself, and because we're all different,
Mm-hmm.
and we perceive love or caring or kindness in different ways.
Yeah.
And so knowing that about another person that you're close to can help you. If it's not your love language, you can at least acknowledge, and that helps, you know, that relationship, that nurtures that relationship, and being able to acknowledge those things. So that was a big thing for me last week.
I know. I was pretty shocked. I kind of had to tell her, like, you need to let her love you in this way, because this is the way that she wants to show you love. So when she finds opportunities to do an act of service for you, be okay with letting someone help you, which again, that's her shadow work stuff that she has
My
to.
shadow work that I need
Letting
to do.
people help her is hard for her, this strong, independent woman over here.
Yeah.
So the other thing is with kids, I raised my son with the knowledge of the 5 love languages and the app. And so he's had a couple girlfriends, females he's interested in, even guy friends, and sort of how they all operate. And to just make it easy for him right now, it's like there's 5 categories, put people into them as far as their efforts that they make towards being your friend and how you respond to that. What do you do then for them? Is it always going to be like, they do this, it's the exact same, so you're doing a mirroring behavior,
Tit for tat,
you know? Yeah, I didn't know if tit for tat was the right thing. I always thought that was like a bad term, like,
I don't know.
you know,
But I
slap
mean,
me,
it's
slap
basically
you.
like, I gave you flowers,
Yeah.
so you're going to give me flowers back.
Right. So it's a mirroring,
But
like
yeah,
same,
mirroring. Yeah.
same habit.
That's probably a better way to describe it,
Yeah.
is mirroring. Yeah.
And I mean, so then if it's like money, so he had one girlfriend who, she just wanted his time all the time. Like, she needed to be on the phone with him constantly, all the time. And then just talking about whatever. And she needed to be heard. So she was in that, like, needed words of affirmation. And, you know, this was his first girlfriend. So he didn't really know how to handle it, but he wanted to help her. So he would listen. And that was how he responded. And he knew that she needed to hear things like, you're not dumb. You know, you're doing okay. Like, things aren't as bad as they seem, like whatever. The second girlfriend, her love language was money, and all she wanted to do was buy him shit all of the time. And I was like, Cameron, I don't know what is going on with this, but like, we need to get this situated, because this is also just kind of not, it was just weird. It was weird for him. He didn't like it because his love language is like mine since I raised him alone. He likes, you know, what is it? I was going to say physical touch, but it's not sexual. It just means like hugs or closeness, you know, hand holding, being together. Like, it's close time. Yeah. See, hanging out all the time. So as we understand how other people feel, heard, felt, and seen, the app can help you do that. So it's an awesome place to start if you want to even reflect on yourself. So as you do the questionnaire, be really honest about how you feel towards some of these things, and really consider it as, do I just expect this because it's what has been expected of me, or do I truly like it? Is that really what I want? Revelations can come from that. Okay. If you just do the survey and then you get your love language breakdown, that's enough. The other to do, so that's the app. I had these 2 things. The other to do, which I kind of talked about earlier, but it was write down who you want to become. Like, what does your future self look like? Do you want to be kinder, happier, you know, less giving? Maybe you give too much. Maybe you feel like you've been a doormat and you need to set healthier boundaries. Like, whoever it is that you want to become over the next year, when you look to that person in the future, what do they do? What do they say? How do they act? How do they dress? What are their mannerisms? You know, whatever it is. But if you can describe your future self, then you can kind of backtrack and say, all right, in order to get myself to that person, I need to start every day with, you know, a mantra of kindness, or every day with a mantra of gratitude. And then from that, remind myself a couple of times a day that I'm really trying to refocus my energy on not worrying and not being fearful, but being grateful for this life and using it in the best way that I can. Like, it's an opportunity to create great changes here in the earth classroom. What can I do better? Who can I assist better? You know, who can I give forgiveness to without believing I'm telling them what they did was okay? Forgiveness is for yourself. It's not for that other person to feel like they're okay. It's more for you to let go of the energy of the situation so that you can move on and put your energy elsewhere. So it's things like that where you can ask yourself who you want to be and then how to get there, and make it actions and words you can say that are that future person. Try not to make it about like fuzzy ideals and like, I want to be kinder, but also I still like my road rage or something, you know, like, I don't think I should be nice to assholes. Well, maybe you should. Maybe you'll be the first person to ever be nice to one and be like, at least I know I'm living in my light and they're living in whatever they've got going on, but you did your authentic thing. Like, you didn't let them bring you down to that level, because those are all low vibrations. Stay in your high vibration, even if the people are jerks. Like, I've literally said to people who were being jerks, I'm like, you must be having a really tough day. And they just look at me like, they don't have anything smart ass to say to that. You know, they're like, she just saw right through me. What do I say now? I'm like,
so I really relate to this particular task here because I have I'm in my 60s, you guys. I've lived a lot of life. I've had a lot of experience. I have a lot of fucked up experiences too, on top of that. So just everything from like abandonment to toxic relationships to just, pretty much the bad stuff that people can go through. But a couple of years ago, when I found my time of birth, so I found that like the birth certificate, because my mother told me I was born at 2:00. I was like, well, that doesn't fit, when I did my chart, right? But anyway, I found my time of birth on a complimentary birth certificate that the hospital gives your parents. So I had that. So I did my natal chart and I read it and I was like, oh, look at all this Libra energy. So I love Libras. Libras are the most fun loving people. Everyone I've ever known has always just been like so full of, they're fun people. Mm-hmm. And so my chart was like, I have all this energy. I'm like, wow, I am not like that at all. Because of my experience, I've like put these walls around me, and
she's hard in
I'm
her
like,
heart.
I'm like, yeah, hard in my heart. And I'm like totally like resting bitch face whenever I'd go anywhere. So people would think I was unfriendly or aloof or a bitch or whatever, which, that was their persona, right? That was a protective thing. But when I read about this, I was like, I want to be that. I want to be that fun, happy
I want to
person.
be her.
I want to be her. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I was like, I can be that.
Yeah.
So it was eye-opening for me to read it. And then as I've gone through my life since then, which is probably only 18 months ago. And I know you guys, I don't know how many of you have been around here for a while, but for your information, this is probably the first time I've disclosed this on YouTube live, is I'm a newer witch, like a lot of you.
You haven't said that in a while.
So I only started on this witch journey about 3.5 years ago. And I only came to it because I moved here with my daughters in Florida, and they were like very much into the rituals. And, I always like read tarot and horoscopes and stuff like that, but I was never really immersed in it.
Intentionally practicing.
Yeah, intentionally. Mm-hmm. So when I came here, and I was exposed to what my daughters were doing with it, like for every holiday and for whatever.
Every 6 weeks, you gotta throw a party.
Yeah, exactly. Like every 6 weeks, we were having a party for something. And it's like, I really became immersed in it. And I started to like change the way that I had been before I came here, which was super negative. Like, I'm dumb. I'm stupid. She
used to say that.
My daughters, Jamie pointed out to me, like, stop saying that because you're always saying you're stupid. I'm not stupid, but I felt stupid. So anyway, I guess my point is that I forgot what my point was.
Reflection.
And
reflection. Seeing that person in the future that you want to be.
Seeing who you want to be.
And then gradually making the stuff. Like,
and then doing the things that help you become that person. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that I do, even this weekend. Oh my God.
What'd you do?
This weekend, I was so effing irritated with people because I went out shopping. So we're in Florida. It's season. We call it season, and all the snowbirds are here and everybody's vacationing, and our roads are packed with people. And every store you go into, you can't find a parking space. People are just rude, and I really had to like talk myself down, like to not absorb that energy and then interact with those people in the same way.
To come down to that vibration.
Yeah, to come down.
I think
Yeah,
that's
to
what
bring.
happens,
Yeah, to come down to that. It was really a work for me to be like, okay, to keep my energy high and to not get down in those low energy vibrations, which are like
the lower vibrations. Anger, resentment,
just being nasty, like.
Well, that's what happens when you get to the level, then you exude what that looks like.
So and the thing about that is like when you're interacting with people who are at this low vibrational level, and you come at them with something higher, like friendliness and happiness and respect,
and like authentic
and consideration and kindness, and just go ahead of me. It's cool. It's fine. Yeah. Have a nice day. They change.
They shift.
So so things start to shift.
So all of a sudden, when they are meeting the world with their anger and resentment, and they're shielding themselves because like they truly believe that every time they step out of their house, things are awful. And here we come in and we're like, oh, hey, go ahead of me. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's okay. And they're like, oh my God, I haven't had anything nice happen to me. And now all of a sudden it's like, they're going to go back. I always imagine this. They're going to go back home to somebody. They'll be like, you'll never believe what happened to me today. Like this lady just let me cut her in line for no reason. I mean, I don't understand. She must be crazy. No, they'll try to bring it down and rationalize it with something, but they'll always remember how it made them feel. There's a great saying. It's like, you don't remember usually what people say, but you remember how people made you feel. So the words that we say they're words. They have power in them, but the words you say give feelings. That's energy and motion, right? We're also in the air sign of Aquarius. So that's conversations, communication, the mental stuff. So when you say things to people, it carries an energy to them and that hits them. So whether you're spewing negativity and be like, get the fuck out of my way, or you're like, hey, why don't you cut me in line? You look like you're in a hurry. Go ahead. I can take an extra 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. And then their energy is like, instead of being way down here in anger and like, they're like, oh, I feel lighter all of a sudden. A little bit of weight got lifted off of me.
Yeah,
that's true. I listened to this lady the other day. She was so bored in the liquor store at Publix. She was a little old lady. I was like, in a liquor store, I was like, oh my God, you're all alone. She's like, yeah, it's really slow because, everybody's watching football. So nobody comes in to get anything. I'm like, what do you do with yourself? She's like, well, and we had this whole 15-minute conversation about how bored she is and how she's been caught doing crosswords, reading a magazine, and on her cell phone. She's like, I've been here 3.5 years and I can't get away with anything. I'm like, you should bring it up to management that like an idle mind is you're going to be less like, cognitively, it's not helping you to sit here and do nothing. Like there should be things you can do.
Or maybe it's time for a new job, which I like to say is like, if people are treating you like shit at your job, it's time to move on because there's other jobs out there. So, okay. So before we're did you want to say something?
Yes. Well, I wanted to say, Billy, I love that you want to be powerful and confident. Now I want you to define what powerful is to you. Define what confidence looks like, feels like to you, not somebody else's definition of it. You define it for yourself. Because when people think of powerful, especially when people ask me, like, how do you know if you're a powerful witch? I love that question because I'm like, you can make shit levitate, right? Like, you're so powerful, shit levitates. No, it's the Hollywood side of it. Powerfulness for us is when we are in complete control of our mind. And like what Kat says, you go out into the world and nobody can sway you. Because you are so
your emotions, and
because you're in control of the emotions,
you're in control of
the thoughts,
your emotions. You don't let other people's moods or actions influence how you react to them.
Yeah,
that's when powerful. That's powerful. That's
so define powerful for you. Because last year, when I did my New Year's resolutions last year, I told my mom this and she thought it was crazy. I told my therapist and he was like, that's unhealthy. I'm like, I don't want to experience anger anymore. I just don't think I should have to. I don't want to get mad anymore. Why should I? Why do it? What do I have to actually be mad about? Like, things will change, life will go on, and I'll eventually die. And this is all just a lesson. And like, nothing is permanent. It's going to be fine, right? My therapist is like, that's not healthy. You need to deal with stuff. You can be upset by things. I was like, no, I know I can be upset. I said, I don't want to be angry, like mad, like.
Well, because her
cussing
kid
at
was kind
somebody
of
or
driving her
something.
crazy at that point in time.
Still, always.
He was driving her. He was
Teenage
literally
boys are
like,
hard.
you know,
Yeah.
16-year-old boys are, they can be pretty aggravating.
So define it for yourself, and then that'll help you do the actions to become that thing that you're looking for. And then, Jenny, we're in Sarasota, Florida. Yay.
Southwest Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
Sarasota.
So I want to share something with you guys because we only have about 6 minutes left, 5 minutes now. But I think we might have mentioned to you before Molly McCord. She's on Molly McCord. So Google or go to YouTube and search for Molly McCord.
She's on our YouTube channel.
As
in the channels. That sounds so weird.
Yeah.
Channels we suggest.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's part of that.
I really love her. And I started listening to her most recent podcast. Her podcasts are about, 30, 40 minutes, something like that. But they're great if you're just like doing your housework. And I turn my phone up and I'm doing laundry or whatever. But I want to share this.
You can set them at a higher speed and get them over with faster too. She talks nice and slow.
Yeah,
so you can listen to it. So
set it at 1.2. Otherwise, 1.5 like that. So 1.2, and it goes really quick. But what I want to share with you about this, and I'm just going to share some like over some big themes of what's going on. So in addition to what's happening with Aquarius, what we have going on right now, what's happening this year and next year, is we have what's called a crossover, where a planet moves between two signs. And right now what's happening is Pluto. Pluto is a very slow moving planet. The energy of Pluto is very slow. And the things that Pluto affects take a long time to come to fruition. But you're going to see these things over the next year to a year and a half. So I just want to bring them up to you because you might be thinking about some big things in your life, like maybe changing careers, something like that. And as I mentioned earlier, when you come to these decisions, you're like, I'm not satisfied in this job. You can't, when I was younger, I could have just walked away, right? Leave the job, go get another one. But they weren't careers. At this point in my life, at Jamie's point in her life, the age that we are, these are career decisions, and maybe you're there too. But let's see, the last movement. So let me just point out that the last time that Pluto moved between Aquarius or Capricorn and Aquarius, which is where we are right now, was in 2008 and 2009. So these are, again, Pluto is very slow moving. So it takes a while to transition. And actually it goes back and forth between the two signs. And in 2008 and 2009, it was moving back and forth a little bit before it finally settled into Capricorn, but it was going back and forth between Sagittarius and Capricorn. Mm-hmm. So now here we are about 12 years later, and Pluto is doing its thing, and it's moving between Cap and Aquarius. So here's what happens with, so there's a lot of intense energy and significant shifts on a global level.
Because it's an outer planet, so it's less about our personal lives and it's more like a global shift in mindset or
so
things that are happening like across many communities that not just
affect many people, affect a global thing, global events. Okay, so Pluto will enter Aquarius for the first time on March 24th, and then it'll go back into Capricorn, and it'll come back, and it'll finally settle into Aquarius for good in November of 2024. These are called crossovers. So this is what crossover years. So they're interesting. Also, Capricorn is the third and final Earth sign. So there's energy all around that Earth sign. Aries is also the first. No, the last.
I thought you were saying Aquarius. You said Aries. Aries is the first fire sign.
Okay, so Aquarius is the
Aquarius is the last air sign.
The last air sign.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this energy relates to our experience of the world, what we can see and touch and do. Capricorn is about structure, businesses, institutions, government, and power hierarchies.
Power hierarchies.
Power hierarchies. So I'm going to tell you guys how nervous this makes me, but I'll wait. I'll save
Are
that
you
for a
going to
minute.
feed fear?
No, I'm just going to share some reservations that I have about things. Capricorn is about responsibility, maturity, and commitment. Pluto moving through Capricorn has been working with each of us on those energies. Since Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008 and 2009, we've been on a very intense journey. What am I here for to do professionally? What career is best for me? So this might have been something that, so because these energies are so slow moving, this is something that's like this long and drawn out for us. So what part, what is the best career for me might be something that you've been thinking about for a long time. Because again, do we make these decisions quickly and rash and just impulsively, or do we? Sometimes we do. It depends on where we are in our careers. What parts of life do I need to take more responsibility for? So that was the year 2008, 2009. So guess what else happened in 2008, 2009, in case you guys don't remember? It was the housing crisis. So that was a global thing that happened globally. So here we are again with, here we are again with this big energy that's happening around. So there's like going to be some major things on a global, and I'm not a fear monger, but I do believe in being prepared and kind of like just being aware, I guess, of what's going on.
And things come through in cycles, right?
Yeah.
So it was like 96 or 7. My husband's in the financial industry, so he knows the years of these things. So he remembers 2008 and like the whole crash and all of that because he works in the stock market, or he trades in the stock market. He doesn't work in it, but it comes through in cycles. And so COVID really pushed that because the government put out a ton of money. And this is only knowledge that I have because of him, because I really don't like listening to financial stuff at all, but he makes it interesting for me and I learned stuff. So when we had our stimmy checks and the government pumped a lot of money into the economy, that is what drove inflation. That is where we had a lot of money to spend. So people were like, well, let's keep hiking the prices up because people have more money. That money is not sustainable because it came in those checks. So now people bought things that they shouldn't have maybe, or put money where it didn't need to go, or whatever. So now we have to even it back out. So what happens is that the Federal Reserve will actually start making cuts at things. So people lose their jobs, things become too high, people can't buy them, and they need to bring it back into balance by breaking something. And that is having a certain level of unemployment with things being at a certain cost. And until that happens, we're still in an inflation thing. And then we're always either in a recession or recovering from a recession. My husband also taught me that. And I was like, well, that sounds crazy. Nobody says that on the news. I've never heard anybody say that. But that's because that's the constant balance they're trying to keep of how things are priced and how we relate with our market of goods. That was a weird thing to talk about on our whole witch thing, but it's things that can affect our lives.
Yeah, and and there may be worries that you have depending on what your situation is, like
what you're trying to manifest for this year.
You may be worried about your situation, whatever your life situation is, and like what the future is going to bring, and what's going to happen with this or that. But during the Pluto crossover years are when truths are revealed. So things that have been hidden are going to come to light. So we're going to see this occur over the next or so.
Ooh, what did just happen recently?
What?
All the 9/11 documents have been being released.
Yeah. So what will be revealed is hidden, and the underground struggle will be exposed. So I guess it's just, while these are global, these are like, this is big energy. This is like all over the world, right? And we can look around the world, and I don't know how much any of you pay attention to the news. Jamie pays zero attention to what's going on in the world at all. She doesn't want to know. Nope. She'd rather watch cat videos on YouTube. I'm like,
a group for that.
And me, I want to know what's happening because I feel like I want to prepare because I see things happening and it's like, all right, I'm getting my fucking passport. I'm getting my passport because if I have to leave this country because some shit goes down, I'm out of here, right? Because I'm not waiting around.
I've traveled the world, Mom, and I'm telling you, you don't want to be a citizen of any other country other than like maybe Sweden.
It depends what happens here.
Maybe Australia.
So again, I'm not trying to fearmonger, but these are energies that are going to be around us, that are going to be impacting us.
We're going to be faced with it.
We're going to be faced with it. So as if crises occur, just know that this is what the planets are saying. Like, this is time for it. It's going to pass. We're always, I believe we're survivors, right? We're still here because
Teresa and Selena and I are making a group that says we don't watch the news. Yeah. And Jenny's in on it. We're having the no news witches right here.
Okay. Well, anyway,
my mom loves it.
Well, and you know what? It doesn't have to be the news. What this is revealing is things in your life, especially related to career. Like, is this where I'm supposed to be? So, but again, slow moving energies. And if you want to hear the full podcast, go to YouTube, search for Molly McCord, and the podcast, the one that she just did that I'm referencing is called 2023 and 2024 Astrology, Pluto in Capricorn and Aquarius crossover years. So I'd never heard of crossover years before. I didn't know what this meant. And I just thought it was very intriguing to me. I was like, oh, wow. So if we look back like 12 years ago when this was happening, when Pluto was moving between Sag and Cap,
it is super
interesting. It was a big thing, right? So we can sort of anticipate that there will be some big shifts on a global level for us. And whether that will impact you personally, who knows? I mean, it depends on your life, I suppose. But I really thought I love Molly McCord. She's really good. So recommend her highly if you guys are looking for somebody to just kind of like, what's going on.
To learn from. She has great stuff to learn from.
Great stuff to learn from.
Well, I think one of the most important things that you are talking about, though, is the reflection purpose, because when you get into astrology, it's really awesome trying to figure out like what's going to happen in the future. That's all great. And you're like, ooh, wow, it's the unknown. What's even better is when you start looking backwards at the big transits of the planets. Like knowing my Jupiter, being a Pisces, like I feel connected to Jupiter, even though I know I got reassigned to Neptune, whatever. I still love Jupiter. People can't tell me anything. Okay? I'll do what I want. My planet is my planet. So, and I've looked at when the years when my Jupiter changed, because Jupiter changes every 12 years. I have huge things like I have deaths occur. I have major shifts in my life. Like these are things that push along. And I'm like, wow. So I know that the system works for prediction because when I look back at the past of it, I have it all written out. I have my actual whole family's Jupiter transitions, Saturn transitions all written out. And I'm like, yeah, what year was that? What year did that happen with all of us? Or, what year was this that somebody moved? Or what year was this when somebody died? Or like, maybe in 1 year, we had 3 pets die. Like that's unusual. So and for us, animals are like their children. So when our pets die, that is a family member dying truly for us. We mourn them for a long time. And like Luna's passing, my dog, who then turned into my dad's dog, who then when he got sick, my mom took her. So she had a home.
Luna.
Yeah, Luna.
She's a Doberman.
So she just had, it's been 5 years.
2017?
2017, 6 years, yeah. 6 years since she's passed. And it's a memory in my damn calendar because that's how much they mean to us.
And I still have her ashes in my closet. Important. And I wrote down in my journal that it's time to spread her ashes here.
Yeah.
It's time to let the ashes go.
So it's when the bigger planets transit and they are about the scope and how things can happen, when you do your reflection for the past part of that, if you can get into it, that can reveal some patterns that you were like, holy shit, I never knew that I was reliving this thing. And it's not the exact same thing usually. It's just a different version of it 12 years later. If there's anybody on that's under 30, or if you're watching this and you're under 30, you need to know about your Saturn's return. Okay, we get 2 Saturn returns in our lives unless we live to 100, and then maybe we get 3, but 2 Saturn returns. And the first one, when you're like 25 to 27, is huge. It hits you, and all of a sudden you're like, what am I doing with my life? Something needs to change. Like, where am I? The Saturn return, your first one, is pivotal. They write books about it. It's so big. Like, it happens, and there needs to be, I don't know. I've thought about doing a class on it, you guys, because honestly, women from 20 to 30 is like, there's a ton of shit we go through. I don't know.
My changes were like, my huge changes were like at 30, right at 30. Like I almost did an about face.
Yeah.
Like literally from
so it's when these planets come back through in your chart.
That was my Saturn return.
Yeah. So your Saturn return means that Saturn returns to its same position when you were born. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have anything to do about the current timeline that it's in. It returns to the same position when you were born. So astrology, I don't teach it because it's so in-depth, you guys. Huge. I would not be able to answer everybody's questions. But when you start dipping your toes in that water, last week I recommended a book, Astrology for Real Life, or maybe that was like 2 classes ago. But Astrology for Real Life can have you, not just dipping your toes, but you can be like knee up, waist in, maybe. It's a lot of great information. And it walks you through it really simply to learn all the language that, because, the words are confusing, like textiles and conjunctions. And I said textiles. I meant to say sextiles. See?
It's so big. Language. It's so big, it can become overwhelming to try to grasp it all. Yeah. And then if you're trying to read a chart and you're doing this, but there's some big things that happen planetarily that affects our lives, like Saturn returns.
Jupiter returns
when these
Jupiter's every 12
when
years.
These slow moving planets so the further the planet is away from us, the slower it moves and the less it impacts our life. So it takes a period of time before that happens. So that's what's going on with
that was a lot
the crossover years. So I found that like really interesting. I never heard that before. Crossover years.
I've never called it a crossover year, just transiting years. So it just depends on who you go through. The crossover year is great. What happens when a planet is transitioning, just like with Jupiter last year, Jupiter was going back and forth between Pisces, my sign, was great, and Aries, which is action. I was like, neither are bad. It's not bad for me in either way, but now it is fully in Aries. And pretty soon it'll start jumping between Aries and Taurus. And then we'll all be in trouble because we're all going to want to buy expensive shit. So that's going to happen. Because Jupiter's like, grow in the earth where you're going to want to buy land or a car. It's going to be about things. So that'll be different. But right now it's in the action sign. So it's like move, go forward, try things, be adventurous, bungee jump, mountain climb, skydive, snorkel.
Start that website in that community.
Yeah. Get all the witches together and burn some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Big bonfires. Yes. Okay, I know we're running a little late, aren't we? Oh,
we are.
8:15. Oh my God. Thank you guys for staying with us.
I hope you found this information helpful. And
Tracy said she only has to live to 88 to get a third Saturn return. I love that. See, I think mine's 84. Yeah. It just depends on how many signs you got to go through, but yes.
I don't watch the news, you guys, but I do. I'm like a fiend for Twitter, so I keep up on everything. And I really need to let that go because it's
big change for this year.
Yeah, I need to delete the app because how is it serving me really?
Did you pay Elon Musk $8?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not paying for the blue check. But, I find myself obsessively checking to see what's going on and keeping up with the local news or not the world news, whatever's happening in the world. Like I'm up to the date, up to the minute. It's like, how is that serving me?
I've asked you. Actually, I got onto her probably last year about that, just about how is it helping you? How do you feel after you do the action? If you go on and you check the news, like one of the reasons why I don't watch it is only because I feel like everything they report on needs to be something like shocking.
I don't even have TV. I just have Netflix, and so
I don't even mean live news like newscasters.
I guess I meant
the
radio,
like articles that come out.
Yeah.
It's always like someone's been raped, murdered, stolen, drowned, shot.
I don't read that
boat stuff. It's all this. I'm like, God, did anything good happen today? If anybody knows the show Bobby Bones, which I learned about that when I lived in South Carolina, but I'm pretty sure it's just country music. So if you don't listen to country music, you probably won't know him. But anyways, he has a specific segment called Tell Me Something Good. And they did the spread joy thing. And like, they're centered around trying to put good stuff out into the universe.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing to just have like only the good things?
Yeah.
I saw the cutest video today, you guys.
Was it cats?
It was on Facebook. Was it cats? So it was a girl who was like a volunteer. And if you guys saw this, you got to tell me. So she volunteered at a shelter for pets, and her parents adopted one of the dogs that she'd been taking care of in the shelter. And so the whole video is about this interaction where the dad's like, he's got the dog and she comes out the door and oh my God, it just made me cry. It made me so happy. Oh, so
See,
I love stuff like that. Yeah.
I can do all that stuff.
All right. Okay, you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe we talked for an hour
and
15 minutes. Lord. All right, we're jabberjaws.
You guys know how to reach out to us if you have questions, right?
Yes. And all the people, there was a whole thing. St. Pete, listen, we haven't done any in-person meetups since last year. And some of them are really rough for us. So we were like, are we going to do that again? I don't know. Some of the people that joined were, it was just a lot to handle at first. But we could probably be better this year.
Well, one of the things we have to, I think, determine is like, there's cost involved with these things. So are people willing to spend $50 to go to an event? Tell me, are you willing to spend $50 to go to an event that you have to drive to and then stay overnight and rent a hotel room?
Whoa, what? What kind of event are we talking about now?
We have to have a space and we have to do, we can't.
Oh, I'm talking about.
No, I'm not talking about a meet and greet. I'm talking about
ritual type stuff.
I'm talking about like an actual like overnight camping thing or something like that where we're doing
rituals.
Yeah, rituals
or examples.
So if any of you, if you are like in Florida and you think that would be something that would interest you, like, could you drive? How far could you drive? How far would you be willing to drive? What would it be? Could you take a weekend or a Friday, Saturday night and drive like 150 miles and then spend the night somewhere?
And kids and husbands and wives would all be allowed also, and pets, of course. So we would never have anything where you had to come by yourself. I just don't know that your people would want to join in on everything, but they could if they wanted to. My husband leaves me to it. He's like, I'll let you do your witch stuff. I was like, oh, thanks, honey. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you guys for being here. And we love all your comments. I've been
reading everything.
We really appreciate you.
Yes. To get a hold of us on the Meetup app, you can text us both. If you live in Florida, I saw all the Florida connections tonight. That's awesome. For people who don't live locally, if you need us, reach out. We're here. If you have questions, it's just like texting. So just hit us up on the
And we'll be back on Thursday for another YouTube Live.
Do we know what we're doing? No.
Check Meetup because we don't remember.
I don't know.
But we're back on Thursday, so we hope to see you here.
It's the 13 simple witch practices, maybe. Could be.
I don't know.
All right. We love you guys for showing up. Thank you so much. And we will see you on Thursday. We hope you have a great rest of your week. That's my speech impediment coming out. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Right.
Good night.
Bye.